So, welcome to the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. I would like to thank all our viewers and members for supporting this noble cause of Treasury Elite, whose main objective is networking, knowledge sharing, and mentoring. Time and again, we bring in world class speakers and business leaders across the world in the field of financial markets and entrepreneurship and conduct various programs, webinars, and conferences in different formats. Treasury Elite Leadership Series is one such format where we learn from industry thought leaders about their experiences of running their businesses, opportunities and challenges they encounter, and broad global trends they see for the future. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Abhishek Goenka, founder and CEO, IFA Global and Treasury Elite. We bring in one stop treasury and FX solutions for companies across India for the last 16 years. And today we have Mr. Siraj Chaudhary. Mr. Chaudhary is an industry expert, thought leader, innovator, and a leading voice in the agricultural and the food industry. Siraj has over 3 decades of experience in building, turning around, acquiring, and divesting businesses. In his current role as MD and CEO of NCML, he is leading the organization into greater diversification and expanding the company footprint across the country as a trusted and preferred agri supply chain and solutions company. Welcome, Siraj. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you, Abhishek. Good to interact with you. Pleasure being on this show.
Glad to have you today as a part of the Treasury Elite Leadership Series. In the next few minutes, we would love to learn from your experiences and some of the latest trends in your industry. Siraj, my first question to you is whenever I talk to a lot of global CEOs like what I understand is after a certain point of time in life, they are just not doing this for the money. What keeps you excited every morning and get to work? Or if I may ask, what is your why?
Good. Certainly a very good question to start off with, Abhishek. And, I've had this answer for a very long time. I've been in the space of food and agriculture for the last 32 years, 33 years, in fact, now. And my big kick is this feeling that whatever I'm doing is very relevant to the world. Because agriculture and food is not going to go away out of fashion, out of technology, and it's something which impacts a very large percentage of the population. So at different stages of my career, I've been exposed to different parts of this business, and at every stage, there was this realization, this understanding that whatever I'm doing, while I may be working for a corporation, running a business, but the number of people I impact is significantly large, and what I do does make a difference to them. And so therefore, my effort, apart from furthering the success of the organization that I was part of, was also to contribute to the industry to make things better for the people that were participating in this space, which is the farmers, the traders, the supply chain participants, and the consumers. And at the same time, essentially raise the bar. And I mean, that was more from a competitive perspective, but at the same time, ensuring that whatever I was doing was having a larger impact than just benefiting my organization or the business that I was running. And this space, which is agriculture and food, is just the right space to be looking at or being part of for an impact career.
Very well said, Siraj. In fact, yes, I'm sure you are touching a lot of people in your current role and your earlier role. And I'm sure something very large is in store going forward, especially in the food and agriculture space. Siraj, everybody has its own ups and downs, and we would love to know some of your important milestones and learnings from your journey.
Yes, so I mean, I started my career. I take pride in the fact that my career kind of moved from in step with the times. So when I finished my MBA, I joined a public sector company, and this was the pre-liberalization day time. I worked started my career with the State Trading Corporation, and within there it was the agriculture commodities division that I became part of. Then just in 1991, when the economy opened up and the private trade and private sector got an opportunity to grow bigger with less constraints, I joined ITC, which was a leading private sector entity and continues to be so. And in 1994, when there was greater thrust of multinationals coming into India, I joined Cargill, and for a very long time I stayed with Cargill. And in the last few years, when the focus is more on investments and startups or companies which are being run by funds, I'm part of an organization which today is run by one of the most prominent funds in the world, and more so in India. So I would say that it's not necessarily planned that way, but looking back, one sees that by default one was making the right moves. So for me, some of the challenging, one of the things that I keep telling people is the ability to make difficult choices. I think I've made those difficult choices, whether it was at that time leaving a public sector to go to a private sector. Now it would be something which people would consider as a given. I mean, there's no thinking also to say that do you want to leave a state trading corporation to go and join an ITC? The answer would be yes. But way back in 1991, people didn't want to leave the comfort of a public sector where you could sort of have a career for a lifetime to go into a private sector, and then to leave a company like ITC to go into Cargill, which at that time in India was just a liaison office. So it is about making difficult choices, and I think that is what has worked for me. The space that I am in, agriculture and food, is extremely challenging. It's not one of those areas where you make billions of dollars very easily. So I think being part of a difficult space is what has, made me a better person or sharper business person. And I think that's been the big exposure and the learning that I've had so far.
Right, right. No, I understand and completely understand. I think, and now I think probably you would be connecting the dots and you would have felt that probably these things have actually helped us in your
Absolutely.
current role.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Correct.
But in terms of if there's a career choice that I made and which was difficult and was most risky, was with Cargill. I used to be in Geneva and was there for 5 years and could have stayed there for a much longer time, being a trader. Geneva is the headquarters for Cargill commodity trading, or used to be at that time. And I got an opportunity to come back to India to be part of a business which was starting from scratch. And that was, I think, the toughest decision to make. But 20 years down the line, I think that was a good decision to make. I mean, it had its challenges, but I would sort of be unfortunate, or I'd feel deprived if I hadn't made that decision at that time of coming back here and building a business.
Right, right. So, you have now, I think, the current company, Fairfax, have invested. You would have tracked the private equity and the VC space very closely. I would like to ask that, of course, things are going to be very, very exciting the way we are seeing billions of dollars chasing both in the private equity and the VC space in India.
Right.
And I'm personally very much excited about this space. How are you seeing the global capital rushing into the food and agricultural space?
So there is, if I look at the, in the Indian investment space, yes, we don't have unicorns in this space of agriculture and food, but there is a large amount of, the numbers are rising significantly over the last 2-3 years. The amount of capital that is coming into the space, and where I see the opportunity here, and it's true globally also, the opportunity is really coming into places where there are problems. So what is the problem with agriculture of food? With agriculture in a country like India, it is increasing or improving productivity, dealing with the uncertainty around climate. It is about growing what is needed by the market. It is about carrying that food or the crop or the produce to the market. So the investments are essentially, what I see, the whole startup space and the investments that are coming up, and that's not just true for agriculture, but for every other space, is essentially leveraging technology or deploying technology to create solutions for problems that have existed for a very long time. And that's where the value is. I mean, it's all about finding solutions. India's had a problem of low productivity, so every effort that is going into improving the quality of seeds, how the monitoring of soil, educating the farmers, and the big challenge was that India has a large farmer population, small land holding. So everyone thought that this was impossible to get to so many farmers. I mean, how do you build scale for anything that you do? That opportunity has, or that problem has been to a certain extent been addressed by technology. So today, you don't have to be in every village or every taluka to be connecting with the farmers. Technology enables you to connect. And I think that's where the value is and the solutions are being created, and that is where the money is coming in.
Right, right. So if there is $1 billion to be invested in this particular space, and if we have to choose two business models, what would it be?
So I would, for the first, my personal concern that I would want to be addressed is that as we are moving forward, we are facing greater uncertainty with the climate change.
Yes.
So agriculture has to be insulated from that because agriculture and food production is critical for this world. And there are no substitutes. I mean, you can't be sort of eating a manufactured product unless you produce. And so technology that insulates agriculture from the vagaries of climate change is something that needs to be invested in. And that is where, this is climate resistant seeds, low pesticides and fertilizer requiring sort of growth or cultivation. Those are the kind of areas where you are managing the production, which is not depleting the environment. I mean, not drawing on too many resources, which is high water consuming crops, and at the same time not being affected by the climate change, because every year you're seeing a difference in climate, and you don't want agriculture to be held hostage to that because that's critical. The other area is in terms of a balance. I mean, producing crops or food which is nutrition compliant, for the lack of better word. I mean, there's a large part of the world which is not getting enough nutrition. And so food that is naturally more nutrient. Now, when I say naturally more nutrient, it is not saying that, okay, everyone should have almonds and walnuts and, because that's not what most people can afford. So the basic food, how can it be made more nutritious? And the other side is that there is another part of a large part of the population around the world, which is probably suffering from overnutrition or wrong nutrition. The whole case against obesity and the whole diseases that come, lifestyle diseases. So foods which manage or balance this equation between undernutrition and overnutrition is another space which would be an area one would want to invest in.
So rightly said, Siraj. In fact, I think last week Nestle took a big stance on that. They acknowledged that
Absolutely.
a lot of their food products are not nutritious, and they want to move towards that direction. And yesterday, a big buzz of Ronaldo.
Every corporation is looking at those solutions.
Correct. And the buzz of Ronaldo you would have seen on Coke, which happened, and suddenly
Absolutely.
Coke lost $4 billion, yes, which was so much of the news.
Right.
And in fact, lately I've been tracking ESG closely, and I've just told my team members that find the stocks who makes the companies ESG compliant, and the top and the leader in that space, probably that's the company to buy for the next 10 years because everybody is moving in that direction, and that's the way. In fact, yesterday in your story, I was reading Organic India, the company which started around 1997, and the way they picked up. Early they used to sell with Fab India, and now they have caught up scale.
Right.
So I think that's happening across, and you must be knowing it better. A lot of people. Are you seeing some trends in which people are storing stuff with you? Are you also seeing more of organic stuff coming in? Are you seeing any kind of trend like that?
I wouldn't say that there is more organic stuff coming in. What I would say is that organic is one element of healthy eating, and
Yep.
there are various debates around organic in terms of saying that there are challenges on certifying and trusting what is being sold to you is actually organic or not. But it is a step in that direction, and the direction is greater consumer consciousness, and this is the more evolved consumer in terms of healthy eating. And so the kind of foods that are coming on the shelves, the focus of parents on what their children are eating. I mean, that Ronaldo story also talks about what he feeds what his children eat or are
Yeah.
allowed to eat. So I think there is greater awareness around the kind of food people are eating. There is greater consciousness in the choices that consumers are making when they're choosing the food that they have to eat.
In fact, that organic company, when I was talking about, when they were actually going to the market and saying that, okay, instead of wheat, you grow tulsi. And that's a power crop. And it was very difficult to initially explain people that why tulsi? Tulsi doesn't feed you, it doesn't fill your stomach. But then they were saying that growing this is the future, and that invested it around 8-10 years, and now I think they're getting the fruits. But yeah, that's a big change that we are seeing across. So it's $1 million
Right.
question. Even I don't know.
So this side, the kind of today I would say that while there's a commodity upcycle, but there is a supply side constraint that has further taken the prices. I mean, some of the commodities I've never seen prices like that ever before.
Yeah.
So which is to a certain extent there's a certain amount of air in there, which will bring it down, but still after it has been brought down, the levels would be higher than we've seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah, even I see that there was a 10 years lull. So everybody
Hmm.
needs to make money. I think probably this is the time for commodity players to make money.
Typically, you do have 3 years commodity price cycles. I
Yeah.
mean, now, frankly speaking, for most commodities, I see production efficiencies so high that they would typically not have those. In the past, you had much. I mean, the chances of commodity up cycles are lower because the productivity has increased, science and technology has enabled keeping crops longer and safer and all that. But when there are unnatural disruptions, I mean, like COVID this time, supply chain disruptions, one of the major reasons is the whole shipping space disruption. I mean, the movement
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
containers, all that has been. So those disruptions are probably adding to the challenge. But yeah, I mean, in a couple of, I would say in 6 months' time, you would see more reasonableness in the prices.
Excellent. Excellent, Siraj. Lovely talking to you. Thanks for your perspective
My
on
pleasure.
overall trends, investment opportunities in this particular area, and the view on the markets and commodities per se, and of course some of the lessons that you have learned you have shared with the professionals who will be hearing this about your journey at Cargill and the current company and in the past, and how you have been taking risks, interesting risks, which has ultimately helped you shape the career. So risk taking is also very important. That's another
Absolutely.
takeaway. And after 20 years, probably you'll be able to connect the dots that how
Yeah.
things have changed. Great, Shiraj. Lovely talking to you
Thank
once
you.
again.